been an incredibly busy off-season so far, even though I feel like championship game was just like a couple.
It's been a lot, Jenny.
There's so much that has already changed. And what do we do here in sports? Well, we already think about next year. 10 teams who can win the NBA title next season. Number one, you see the Thunder taking over that top spot, followed by the rest. And we are ready to break down this list with our Ashley Nicole Moss because, you know, it's just something fun that we do. We talk about these projections, and then we can go back at the end of the year and see how we did. And I feel like
I did call OKC right this season.
You did.
Just saying.
So we're going to start from 10 and work our way down, okay? And we saw the list there, who's going to be number one, and I would imagine you still agree that the Thunder are going to take that top spot. But let's start with the Milwaukee Bucks at number 10, okay? They waived their injured Damian Lillard. That was like a whole conversation, stretching his salary over the season to help clear space for Miles Turner. That was a big move that just went down. Talk to me a little bit about the Bucks and what you expect from them this year.
So Lakers fans are going to be mad because they're not on my list and these guys are, but I'm putting them on my list strictly because of Giannis, the strength of him, and also a really weak Eastern Conference. The Lakers have a bigger task going through the West. It's going to be a different conversation to get out of that. We'll hit that when we get there. But here's the thing. I'm strictly putting this on the strength of that guy right there, number 34. And that's really the only explanation that I have. If anybody can take this team, and Miles Turner's a lot better than people are kind of been saying these past few days since he's become a Milwaukee Buck. He's coming off an exceptional season. I don't think he is a needle mover. I don't think he's going to be this drastic difference maker, but he is a talent that Giannis will appreciate if Giannis ultimately ends up staying in Milwaukee. That could change. It could change today, tomorrow, a week from now, a month from now. I don't know. But on June 3rd, 2025, give me the Milwaukee Bucks at 10. And this is, again, strictly because I have a lot of respect and faith in the big man, Giannis.
I love you so much for thinking that it's June 3rd.
Oh, sorry, July 3rd. It's been a long time.
The girl needs a break. The girl needs a break. I remember when we were talking about the Bucks news coming out. You were like, find someone that loves you, like the Bucks love Giannis, and will just do anything to appease you and make you happy. We'll see what happens over there. We're going to work our way now down to number 9. We have the Orlando Magic. They lost in the first round against the Celtics last season. They did make some moves this offseason. Your take?
I like the moves that they made. I think Desmond Bane was a great acquisition for them. It's going to help them with their offense. It's going to help them from a scoring standpoint, both of which they really struggled with last season. I do still think, though, this is a very young team, and I know that narrative has been squashed by the Oklahoma City Thunder after they won the championship this year, but this Magic team is not that OKC team, and I think that they are a couple of seasons away from really being in the conversation. But I think this is going to obviously be a playoff team. I think, again, with how broken the Eastern Conference is, this is a prime position for a lot of these teams that get lost in the mix to really make some noise as an actual playoff contender. And I think the Orlando Magic were plagued by injury, and that's really what helped. That's really what suffered them last season, or made them suffer last season. The injuries to Paolo and then Franz Wagner. I think health permitted, and the addition of Desmond Bane, this is a team to definitely look out for in the Eastern Conference.
We do have an LA team on our list. You mentioned off the top, it is not the Lakers. We have the Clippers coming in at number 8. James Harden signed a 2-year, $81.5 million deal with the Clippers after declining that $36.4 million player option. Brooks Lopez agreed to a 2-year deal over there. Well, they haven't won a playoff series since reaching the Western Conference Finals in 2021. Again, we're taking a look at teams that we think could make it to win the title next year. So what do you like about them?
I think the Clippers, honestly, I was very surprised by what they did this season, because the wild card is Kawhi Leonard and his health and his availability. And I can't tell you, just as a basketball fan, how exciting and just heartwarming it was to see Kawhi playing the way he was playing in the postseason, towards the end of the regular season, and just really watching a version of Kawhi Leonard that we've missed. And it's due to just the up and down with his injuries, the rehabilitation. I think, health permitted, this Clippers team is a lot better than a lot of people thought earlier this season. Obviously, James Harden is James Harden, sometimes he shows up, sometimes he doesn't. But when he shows up, man, is he special. And then again, when you get a healthy Kawhi Leonard, it changes the conversation of the Los Angeles Clippers. It changes the conversation what this team can do, and it changes their ceiling. That is the biggest thing. It's not lack of talent. I do think that this Clippers team is a lot more, it's sneaky talented. It's like on paper, you're kind of like, this is not a good team. They're not going to, you know, too much stock on two guys who are unreliable. And then you saw them this postseason and then this regular season, and you said, oh, okay, like this actually looks better in real life than it does on paper. But it's all about Kawhi and how healthy he can stay. But I'm going to give them the respect of putting them at number 8 because of what I saw this postseason.
The respect is there. Number 7, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves. They re-signed Naz Reid. We talked about that off the top. Julius Randle for that combined $225 million contract. Added Rudy Gobert, whose extension kings in this season. And the T-Wolves have $334.5 million committed to their bigs, and that's even after trading Towns away. So talk to me a little bit about Minnesota.
So Minnesota's tricky for me because they didn't get better. They stayed the same, which is not the worst thing, especially when you talk about a team that was in the playoffs this season.
But you always want to try to get better.
But you always want to try to get better, and you definitely want to try to get better in the Western Conference. And my concern about the Minnesota Timberwolves is, look, Anthony Edwards, phenomenal. Every season he gets experience under his belt is better for Anthony Edwards' development as a player and as the leader of this Minnesota Timberwolves team. And I think the chemistry, another year under their belt of the chemistry of Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards, and just all the new acquisitions and all the new pieces that they had via that trade and what they did in that prior offseason is all beneficial. But my issue is that I feel like it's going to be more of the same, and the same isn't necessarily bad because, as we saw, this was a playoff team, and the year before that, although they had Karl Anthony Towns, this was a team that went to the Western Conference Finals. So it's hard for me to say it's going to get worse, but it's also not going to get better, which is why I kind of put them at the middle of the road. I think they're one of the better teams in the West, but it's hard for me to put a lot of stock in a team when they're going to be going against guys like the Thunder, the Houston Rockets, who look filthy, even the Dallas Mavericks. But I'm putting them at number 7 on the strength of Anthony Edwards and what we saw this team do this particular season, and even although they didn't come out victorious in the postseason.
Okay, so not necessarily better, the same, which could be.
That's why they're in the middle of the road. They're not the bottom, they're not the top, they're in the middle.
They're 7 in the middle. At number 6, we have the Hawks. Now, they spent the past 2 summers trying to kind of create a roster around Trae Young. This offseason made a big trade for Kristaps Porzingis over there, but you look at what they've done in the past. They finished as an 8 seed in the East last season. Why do you like them this year?
In the Eastern Conference, this is, in my opinion, the 3rd best team in that conference after the Cavs and after my New York Knicks. And when you talk about what the Atlanta Hawks have been able to do, they've been really struggling to kind of find the right team for Trae Young. It's been a lot of a revolving door, if you will. There's been a lot of turmoil, right? It was the DeJounte Murray situation that didn't work, and they got to trade DeJounte, but there wasn't a trade market for Trae, and it was just trying to figure out the pieces that can work with him. And you bring in Alexander Walker, who's a versatile player who can contribute on both ends of the floor, offensively and defensively. Luke Kennard, you see him there at the bottom, signed a 1-year deal. He's a reliable scorer and a shooter to add to their backcourt. You obviously have Kristaps Porzingis, who can help stretch the floor when he's healthy. You know what he can do. Former Boston Celtic, also former New York Knick. He's been around. But with these additions, I feel like the Hawks have really filled multiple roster spots and added a lot of two-way players, giving them more flexibility, more depth. And I said this yesterday, and I will say it again. This is the best team that Trae Young has had his entire tenure as a Atlanta Hawk. And if he can't get it done with this team, he's the problem, not everybody else.
No pressure there. I do want to ask about a player you just said gets around quite a bit.
Yeah.
Porzingis. He has missed 65 games over the last 2 seasons. Is there any concern level with just his health?
For sure, and there's always been a concern level about this with Porzingis. This is not a new thing. It was an issue in Dallas. It was an issue in Washington. It was an issue in New York. It was an issue in Boston. And now, more than likely, it's going to be an issue in Atlanta. The better option here, though, or the silver lining, I should say, is that Atlanta does have a lot of pieces that maybe they don't feel his absence so strongly, but it's definitely a concern. This is a guy who deals with injury a lot and has in his career.
You always say your best ability is your availability.
Your availability is your best ability. Absolutely.
That's right. Yeah. We're going to look at number 5 now, right in the middle of the road. We got the Cavs. They lost in 5 games against the Pacers in the Eastern Conference semifinals last season. Some of the moves they made: Sam Merrill returning on a 4-year deal. They're adding Lonzo Ball via trade with the Bulls.
Yeah.
Larry Nance Jr. agreed to a deal over there. What are your thoughts on them?
I had to put the Cavs at number 1, although in my head and in my heart, it's the New York Knicks. But look, the Cavs were the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. They were plagued by injury at the worst possible time. That has nothing to do with talent and everything to do with luck or bad luck. As Phil Jackson said it best, winning a championship is part talent, part luck, and the luck has to do with health. But they're bringing everybody back. They're also adding talent in Lonzo Ball. I think that this team could have went further, should have went further than they did. I believe that a lot of people thought they were going to knock the Pacers out and make it all the way to the conference finals, possibly even the NBA finals. And it was a health issue, not a talent issue for this Cleveland Cavaliers team. So for me, that's why I have them at the middle. When you look at some of the other teams, you'll see why. But I definitely have them atop the Eastern Conference as the number 1 contender to make it all the way.
This next team at number 4, I feel like needs no introduction.
Well,
we have your New York Knicks.
Yeah.
The big news coming out yesterday, I believe that was, that they are going to be hiring Mike Brown as the next head coach. Ash, take it away.
Yeah, so we're still waiting for the official signing of Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson's going to be great because he's one of the best bench scorers in the NBA. You saw that when he was with Utah, won 6th Man of the Year in 2020, 2021. Averages 16 points, 3.7 assists. He's going to be great because you'll be able to bring him in those closing lineups and really help Brunson when it comes to late game playmaking. It's that scoring punch off the bench that the Knicks have been looking for. There's already a lot of gems on the bench. One, you need a coach who's going to go to him. That's why Mike Brown's there. But Jordan Clarkson's an additional piece that I think the Knicks have been looking for. For me, they were the 2nd team in the Eastern Conference as a true contender. And I'm going to say this, as devastating as the injuries to the Pacers and the Boston Celtics have been, it has changed the landscape of the Eastern Conference. And I believe this is the Knicks' best chance to not only go to the conference finals again, but to go to the NBA finals. It's just the name of the game. When things change, you got to take advantage of it. And I think that this is a great basketball team. They have a year under their belt. They have the experience of the postseason of the conference finals from a chemistry standpoint. Remember, Karl-Anthony Towns was a late trade, and that kind of throws things a little bit off. You're learning chemistry in real time, but there is no reason why the Knicks should not be able to get it done this season. They have everything at their disposal. They have everything that they need, and if they can't, there's going to be some questions because, as you know, then the following year, the Celtics come back, the Pacers come back, and the East looks a lot different.
They are your top contender in the East. Over there at number 4, you have your New York Knicks. We're going to go to the West now for the top 3, and we're going to start with the Rockets. This is a team that before you just called filthy. Yeah. So just take it away.
I'm not even going to go too in-depth here. They've just absolutely killed this offseason, from the trade of Kevin Durant, the low-risk trade of Kevin Durant, only having to give up 2 pieces when it comes to players, and all the other acquisitions. I mean, they recently signed Clint Capella, who they didn't even need. It's just like, you know, if I got the cash to spend, why not make it rain? And that's exactly what they did. I think this Houston Rockets team is well coached. I'm a big fan of Ime Udoka. I think they were already talented. Western Conference, 2nd seed. You add Kevin Durant, you add just a lethal scoring machine that's going to help not only uplift the other guys he's playing with, but it's just going to give them that punch, that offensive punch that they struggled with. This was a team that did really well defensively, sometimes struggled offensively. Kevin Durant changes that for me.
Definitely changes things. You know that they're going to be just a winner this offseason by that deal alone. That's without question. At number 2, the Nuggets, trading away Michael Porter Jr. Jr. to the Nets for Cameron Johnson. That was one of the headlines over there. What do you like about Denver? Do you think they're just going to continue to find success?
Everything. I actually saw a tweet yesterday from a big Denver Nuggets fan that I might agree with. It said that this iteration of the Denver Nuggets might be better than the Denver Nuggets team that won the championship in 2022. This is what we've been waiting for, the help that Jokic has been waiting for, the help that he deserves. Ever since they won the championship, you saw those pieces kind of dwindle. You brought Bruce Brown back. You finally figured out what to do with Michael Porter Jr., who made a lot of money. You didn't get a lot of return on your investment. You bring Cam Johnson, who's one of the best in-motion shooters, I believe, in the NBA. You give Jokic that help. You had the best basketball player in the world on your team. This is no knock to SGA. I know you're the reigning champ, but you know how much I love the big man in the Mile High City. And all you needed to do was give him some pieces, some slight pieces to make his job slightly easier. You didn't have to do much, and the Denver Nuggets did exactly what they needed to do. This might be the year that the Denver Nuggets make some real noise and bring it all the way back to where it started in the Western Conference Finals.
There's going to be one team that's in their way for sure when it comes to winning it all, and that is the Oklahoma City Thunder, your champs over there. We still have them as the #1 team projected to win next year. Why is that?
They're the reigning champs, and you got to give the respect to the reigning champs. I think that they've squashed the narrative that young teams can't win basketball games, that young teams can't win championships. And you have the league MVP, the finals MVP, now Supermax player in SGA. The key is going to be keeping these guys together, which I don't think they'll have an issue doing at all. For me, though, I just think that they now have a year of experience in the regular season being the top dog in the NBA, the top dog in the Western Conference, a postseason, some big battles against the Denver Nuggets and the Indiana Pacers, and now a championship under their belt. This is dangerous because once upon a time it was you don't know what you don't know. Well, guess what, everybody? Now they know. So
now you know. I feel like that was just a mic drop moment right there. Now you know, and now we're done. You just rolled through that like an absolute pro. Ashley Nicole Moss.
My 10-minute drill.
I think it was longer than 10 minutes, girl. Odds to win the NBA Finals. You can see it right there. The Thunder are the favorite, the heavy favorite at plus 260, followed by Ashley's New York Knicks at plus 750. You know she loves seeing that. After that, it gets a little fuzzy. The Nuggets, the Rockets, and the Cavs all at plus 850 there.